Ollie, good to have you on. How we like to start off is just a quick intro of you, the industry that you're in, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sure, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm in the, marketing industry. I've been running my business since 2013. So I started a company when I was 17 while still at college. That company still operates today, but very much at the time we were kind of focused off actually in the theatre space. So we spent 2-3 years in the theatre world making no money because theatre is very difficult. Through that, started making content around our theatre shows and sort of started to sell out shows through making content and running Twitter ads. The next couple of years that followed after that were very much my kind of what I call uni years. So running the company, keeping it really small, very much a lifestyle business for me. Shooting a lot of content, running a lot of organic socials. 2018, 2017 time, started to go into the sort of paid performance space. And then sort of 2018 to 2020, started to scale the business. 2020, COVID happened, our business went crazy because everything moved online. And then from 2020 kind of till now, we are the format that we are, which is a creative performance agency for premium luxury brands. I've been in the game for a little while, still very young, but I've been kind of operating around the space of creative and performance and delivering that for our clients. And we now have an amazing team based out in Fulham, working with some amazing clients, amazing project stuff, and trying to enjoy life a little bit, mate. You know, it's all very doom and gloom out there sometimes. And then on top of that, I also have my own podcast as well, where I've had the privilege over the last year to interview some amazing individuals, finding out what it takes to achieve something in their career, from brand owners to athletes to people in arts to people in all different volumes of life, if you will. Did a lot in the kind of restaurant space, and we're continuing to grow that show. And as always, we'd love to come on another show. So thanks for having me.
Good. That's good. I want to go. So, 2013, you say you start the business.
Yeah.
So, in that time, it's a bit of a bit of a lifestyle business. When does the part come? There you go. When does the part come of? I guess at this point you're doing everything, handling all of the delivery and all of the client relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
At what stage does hiring start and starting to bring people in to take stuff off of you?
Yeah, I mean, I always had at least one member of staff from the moment I went full-time in, full-time in sort of late 14, early 15. I always kind of actually paid myself less in order to have a member of staff. So I've always been very not wanting to do things by myself. But I mean, my first member of staff was part-time, sort of 3 days a week. She was with me actually for about 5 years, there or thereabouts, part-time, full-time, part-time, that sort of separation. And for me, I would much rather paid myself less to have more capacity within the team in order to kind of grow it. And we kept the business, 4 or 5 people for a long time. And that's when I was doing a lot, and I think had the enthusiasm isn't probably the wrong word, but the energy to be doing that much work. I was shooting 3-4 times a day with different brands and businesses, and then editing and invoicing overnight, and then doing that 3-4 times a week. It's pretty intense and a big sacrifice, but I was using that time from sort of 2014 to 2018 as my extended uni experience, if you will, really trying to learn the craft. So during that time, I shot amazing campaigns myself for some amazing brands. We delivered great work. We ran social channels for some amazing companies. So by the time where I got now, or when I started to build a team of sort of 10 plus people, I had done every role in the business. I know how it all works, and I still know that today, which my team hate because I can kind of critique things at a level that maybe others maybe can't. But at the same time, I really think that was what I wanted to build is something where I understood everything in the space, and also how it works. So I can kind of connect with the team and say, right, you work in email, I have good understanding of it, this is where I want us to get to, but also you're the expert, so you bring in so much value. But also I can understand how long things take to build together, what the work is and all that kind of stuff, and that's really important.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've had that long-term vision since the start, which is actually really rare, especially
I would
now.
Disagree with that. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I think a lot of people say that, but I definitely make it up as I go along. I'm not only in the last 3 years I've been very vision focused. It took me a long time to get to that point, And I think particularly when you're younger, sometimes you don't need this like big goal mapped out and sort of plan through. Sorry. So yeah, I would say at the moment, definitely like have that more now, but back in the day, no.
Right, that's interesting because it does seem like hiring somebody straight away and not taking as much money as you probably could have.
Mm.
That does seem a bit more like I don't know, building in a sustainable way, if you like, rather than breaking everything as soon as possible and then trying to fix it all yourself. So you do, because
I think so. There's definitely an element of that. I think, to be honest, I'm just like, I don't want to do things by myself. Like I don't really think it's that enjoyable. Like even with the podcast we've built over the last sort of 14 months, like there's a team behind that and around it. And yeah, I might spend the most amount of time on it, but I'm not necessarily doing like, you know, it's good to have people around you, particularly in like today's world where you can be so separated and kind of sit in a dark room by yourself. There are of course times where I need to do that, but generally I like having great people around to kind of come on the journey with us.
Yeah, and 17 is an early, young age to start a business. What was the motivation behind that?
Just didn't have any other option, really. Kind of the plan I had, and I still running that plan 13 kind of ish years later, almost, or 11 years later, but it was a sort of 13-year plan, and this is probably the only vision I had, was, I don't know where I got it from, but I was basically like, if I try and run and build a company for the next 13 years of my life, and it goes completely wrong and hits the pan and just fails miserably, I'll be 30 and I can kind of start anything again. And I think that was just basically a very simplified version of like an objective, which obviously I'm about to turn 29, so I'm getting to the very end of that plan and things are going all right. So for me, it's kind of, that was all I had, and I didn't want to go to university. I did think at that time it's a complete scam for what I wanted to do. I was like, if I went and learnt business at university, I just don't think that is just not worth the debt. That's not worth the time. It's not worth the energy. I don't really care about going out and drinking and getting pie. I just never been that kind of guy. I just don't. It's not interesting to me. And I just wanted to try and do something that I think was different. And I knew the way I learned was by doing and failing and getting things right and all that kind of stuff. So it was a bit of a tricky one. But yeah, that was the plan, and it's kind of worked out.
So the business, same business since 2013. You mentioned you start in theatres. What's the first transition out of that? You said that there was, the reason for it was there's not much money in the theatres. So what does it look like after that?
Yeah, so like we basically had two shows for about 2 years that we were kind of running at different times, like going to the Edinburgh Fringe, doing stints in London, etc. Kind of not touring around with it, but definitely kind of moving around with it for the first couple of years. And I think for a period of time, like we were kind of riding the wave of kind of doing those shows, and we were selling out shows pretty well. Like, you know, we were using ads, we were making lots of content around it. You know, we went to the Fringe and we sold out like a lot of these shows. And even then, you just, you know, the theatre and production game is, you've got to be on the West End, you've got to be in substantial theatres in towns, whether they be, you know, the Richmond Theatre, for example, like is a really well-established theatre with a really connected audience that really like make a difference. So for us, it was kind of like, we're so small and we were doing as well as we could do, but then you're still not making the money to kind of like keep it going, if that makes sense. So the making content and doing that, we started to do as a company for other brands. So some of our clients were, you know, we're picking them up and making content on them, and all those sorts of variables. So like that stuff was kind of like keeping us going and moving forward. And then we sort of realized that for me, I was like, do I really want to go into this theatre game? Is that the passion, or is actually at the time the passion more making content and building that through? So it was kind of like we just stopped doing the shows. We just thought, you know, let's not do them. We actually made a short film as a kind of more creative project. That was in 2017, I think, which did really well. Again, went to film festivals. It was more like kind of creative side of content and production. But for me, we were always kind of moving towards a more commercial aspect.
So we've gone from theatres for when you first started, so now luxury brands.
Yeah.
what is that transition like, and how do you end up at luxury brands?
Well, I think that, generally we've as a business, we've worked with various different brands that aren't luxury or premium. We've done so much work with a variety of different brands because we've been around for so long, and we were very much a smaller business and sort of scaling up from there. So I think for us to get to where we are now is definitely around kind of trying to get into those markets and trying to kind of like, you can't just, I don't think sometimes as an agency or a service-based business, just say, right, we are going to be this for this industry. It's quite difficult to do that. So obviously you want to build up team, you want to build up experience, you want to educate that team, and particularly in premium and luxury brands, there's a lot of competition from an agency perspective. So for us to sort of transition into there is very much like the building blocks phase. It wasn't like, and even today, we get inbound or outbound inquiries or conversations start with non-premium luxury brands. And as a business, you sometimes find yourself kind of questioning whether or not you should take that opportunity or what that should look like. So for us, it's very much being like step by step and building a kind of position in that market, and also building the kind of reputation in that market as well, which we're still doing today. And I think we'll continue to have to kind of keep on top of and monitor, if you will. But yeah, it's very much focused around finding ways into that market, making sure there's presence there, and also really understanding that market, because I think whatever niche you're maybe looking at, it's important to make sure that you and the team really get that niche, and we're always trying to really make sure we're on top of that.
One thing that I do always ask founders is if there was, everybody says to never have regrets or anything like that. If there was one thing that you could go back and maybe do a little bit differently, or there's a hire that you should have done earlier or something like that, is there anything, if you could go back, that you would change?
I think like generally I try and live life like not regretting as much as I could. I think I've always been stages of my entrepreneurial journey where I've definitely sat on regret for way too long, and it can be very crippling to kind of move forward. But I think that for me, it's never around like hiring the person at the right time. I think you're either hiring too early or too late. I generally I've never experienced the perfectly timed hire in the agency world. So that stuff I just don't really think exists as much. You can get close to the line, but I think generally it's either too early or too late for me. But I think generally like the regrets I maybe have are just, do you know what? I generally don't. Like, I generally think that if I look back at all those things that you could see as a regret, I just think it's part of the journey. I think maybe like operationally, like we've had great culture, bad culture. We've had great operations, bad operations. And it's flipped around. Like businesses are just like that. You constantly changing and going one way or the other. And I think that's sometimes where founders are kind of like, yeah, you should be looking inside yourself and making sure you're questioning everything that's happening in your own company. But at the same time, like you're going to get stuff wrong. You're going to get stuff like, you're going to lose a great member of staff. You're going to hold on to a bad member of staff for too long. You're going to hold on to a bad client for too long. You're not going to hold on to a good client. Like it's going to be that process. And I think that all the things that I would look back and say are maybe regretful, I would look at now and say there may be things that have to happen in order for you to learn and keep going the way you're going.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to not shy away from that. It's very easy to go on LinkedIn and go on Instagram and everybody's acting like everything's sunshine and rainbows, and it's not. And I think a big part of like we spoke before on like the content side of things is booming right now for B2B, and I think it's really important to keep that authentic side and actually be honest, because for me, my target market is founders and business owners. So if I'm acting like everything's perfect and we've never done anything wrong ever, the target market don't resonate with that, and they probably don't want to work with you because you're not a genuine person. Whereas if you share the ups and the downs alongside the wins, that just comes a lot more, like I say, authentic, and that's what people are looking for right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of the way to roll, and it takes a lot of confidence to be there as well.
Mentioned before that you've done quite a lot of work in the automotive space. What sort of services are you providing them? I don't know if you've got some results to share with us as well.
Yeah, so we're a creative performance agency. So what we really do is we get creative and blend it with performance and find results that way. We think that no matter what you're looking at, whether it be paid marketing, organic social, email marketing, we really believe that the creative, whether it be copy, visuals, whatever, is a big part of the battle. And if you get that right, you really make a big impact on performance. Our performance team then take that and maximize it for kind of the best result possible, whatever that result be, whether it be revenue growth, awareness, considerations, whatever those marketing buzzwords might be at the time, really looking at that. And some of what we've done is like you say, a lot in automotive to really help that space in that industry. We're privileged to have worked with brands like Collecting Cars, Bonham's Cars Online, Car and Classics, some of the larger, more independent auction platforms. We were working with Collecting Cars when they were very small and they grew incredibly well and internationally, and we kind of were on the ride with that journey for them. They now have an amazing team in-house that kind of facilitate a lot of the work we were doing, which is part of the agency game. But yeah, like I think the Collecting Cars thing really stands out to me as a great example of really blending that creative. We actually made, I think me and one of the designers did it, I can't really remember these days, but we kind of made this original asset, which was we were focused on showing audiences what the platform had sold, because we felt that people wanted to see more results based than come and list your car with us. So we made this sort of sold graphic, which was a big fat sold in front of a vehicle, kind of cut it out to make the vehicle stand out. That asset is being repeated across the industry because it works so well. And it's an example of where like the creative can be very simple, but it can have a massive impact on performance. And we ran that obviously through ads and through organic and drove that through there. But yeah, that was kind of a few examples where we were scaling media spends, opening up international territories, but it was really driven by the creative, but also that digital strategy. And automotive is a great one. We've done a lot of work in there, working with more product-focused businesses as well, like the Little Carco, who sell brilliant versions of Ferraris and Bugattis, which are sort of sized down as more kind of like appealing products for estates and private roads. We've done some work with them. We do a lot still today with in the premium and sort of supercar end of the market as well. But yeah, like I think when you're building an agency, what the team are interested in, I think is really important as well. So if your team, we have a team who are very into that space, and we also have a team that are also into health and wellness and F&B and fashion and all those other variables, beauty. But having that team interest really helps in kind of driving things forward as well, and we've really found that. So automotive is always kind of quite close to our heart, and we really understand it, and we're proud of some of the work we've done.
Is there anything, so I've spoken to quite a few more on the e-commerce agency side. Is there anything that's specific common problems for, I don't know, say somebody in the automotive industry that comes to you and they think they're having some issue with, I don't know, it could be the paid media or PPC or anything like that. Is there one that's more common than
I think
others?
I think obviously like depends on that service line and that channel, right? And there's obviously so many issues that come up. I think the biggest thing we find in automotive at the very like top end of vehicle sales and that sort of area is a lot of tracking and attribution. So tracking and attribution is now massively different when you're running ads now to where you were running ads 5 years ago. So the way things are tracked, the way they're attributed to what ads and what campaigns and what channels you're using to advertise that brand or business is massively changed. And I think particularly in automotive, obviously it's very leads based. So you're driving brand leads. So let's say you're marketing a manufacturer as an example, you're not looking for someone to purchase a vehicle online, you're looking more for leads for then a sales team to perhaps pick up and drive from there. So that's some of the work we end up doing, and the biggest thing there is that people don't know where those leads and opportunities are coming from for their automotive brand. So that's probably the biggest challenge at the moment on the kind of more technical side. I think the second thing is really a lot of brands are getting content right, because automotive is one of the more easy industries to make great content for. But I think one thing that they sort of struggle is the scalability of that and really understanding what audiences want to see. So the content's good, it looks beautiful, it represents the brand, it's really exciting and engaging. But in automotive, the big thing is like how do we make a higher volume of it that can kind of be scaled up and sort of transcend the whole brand as a whole. So that's something that we find a challenge with quite a bit, but definitely something that's easier to overcome, but more challenges in that space.
Do you just focus on the acquisition type, or do you work with like retention things as well with brands?
Yeah, so we do a lot in email marketing, which is probably our biggest retention platform. So we do a lot with data and increasing retention over time. We also do really look at organic social now as a retention platform, not just a new acquisition platform. So the way that the platforms now work, if you're making the right content for the right audience, they will see that and they will engage with it. It's, every platform in social has completely changed over the last couple of years. So it's something where we spend more time in for sure. And retention is a big part of it, because brands can't afford to constantly be spending with Meta ads or Google ads, etc. They need to be getting more LTV from those customers, and that's what we spend a lot of our time doing.
The introduction of AI has obviously shook a lot of the business space, and just in general. Where do you sort of see like this year going in terms of, I don't know, industry trends or things that brands are going to pick up on? And I don't know whether that is leveraging AI at all, or other things that you can sort of see or predict that are going to happen this year that maybe change the way stuff is done.
Yeah, I mean, on the AI piece, I don't spend a lot of time there, I'll be honest. My personal perspectives on it are that we're very early. I think there's a lot of AI stuff. I mean, we're using AI in light touch ways, from the way that Adobe have brought it in, to the way we test copy, to the way we test packaging on content, like various things. We're using it, and I think there are great ways to find efficiencies more than anything in AI. But I think, and then on the ad side, there's things like Advantage Plus, which is Meta's kind of AI integration within their platform, and Performance Max. There's elements of AI in that. So there's areas where we're using it when we wouldn't say we're AI first as an agency at the moment, but we're definitely finding way more efficiencies. Like even things like subtitling content has changed from how we did it 5 years ago. We used to have to write every single word out word for word. We now don't have to do that thanks to AI. So there's lots of things there where we're making some really good differences. But I think the biggest trend this year will be live shopping. I think the adaptation for premium luxury that they're going to have to go through for live shopping is a big move. TikTok's obviously leading the way. There are brands within premium luxury really making a killing, not just in a revenue sense, but finding new customers and connecting with people. I think the QVC sort of like tele-shopping model in the 90s is like coming back in such an interesting way. And I think that for a lot of premium luxury brands, where your mass market for your brand is going to be people who need to consider your product more because it's a luxury purchase to them, your smaller demographic is going to be 10% of your audience who won't care about the price and just purchase the product. That 90%, the fact that they can go, and let's say you're a fashion brand, they can go on a TikTok live and have a conversation with you about the quality and any questions they have to help drive those conversions, I think is huge. I think there's loads of rumours around other platforms looking at it. Meta are looking at it for Instagram, and apparently that's something that's coming soon. And so I think platforms like X, I can't imagine that YouTube are completely ignoring it in any sense. So yeah, I think live shopping is definitely a big driver.
That's interesting, because like for what we do in outbound, it's like it's gone back 10 or 20 years in terms of like you have to build relationships now rather than just send a load of emails out and you'll get some replies. So it's interesting that you say like the QVC of TV shopping is coming back. Yeah. It does seem like things are going in like a circle of guess of what worked 20 years is like it's coming back, but a kind of a different spin on it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think it's definitely. I just think it'll be where we end up going massively. I think that's going to be probably I think it'll be the biggest driver by the end of this year, like the Q4 period where e-com brands are obviously really driving forward the gifting and those sorts of variables. I think the will be like a big driving force in that. And
I am interested to know, obviously, from the like lead generation side of things, of how you've grown the business. Has it been through like a real solid network and referrals, or have you had some like outbound process in place?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been really omni-channel. We've kind of always tried to go down that route, I would say. So for us, it's always been really important to have a kind of multiple sources of opportunity driving kind of factors. So we've done cold email, warmer email, we've done newsletter stuff, we've done running ads on every platform, we do a lot of events, we host events, we go to events, we network, we have referral programs, we have individuals who are maybe consultants or kind of freelance options for brands, with a referral program to them. So we've always been super cover everything a little bit. Now, would I say that's the best way to do it? I can't really tell you. But one thing I do know is that where we've always been more risk heavy is if we've only had one channel doing really well for us, that's always been really risky. That the moment that channel, we put everything into that, the moment that channel dies, we've kind of been in a really difficult position. Obviously, on top of all that, we spend a lot of time focusing on retention and decreasing churn rates, etc. But they're always going to exist. And a lot of them sometimes are outside your control. Like the mini budget 2 years ago, for example, was really, really impactful for us and made a big dent into our business, and we had to recover from that. Equally, our growth during the COVID era was not necessarily us being really good at marketing ourselves. It was the way that the industry, the kind of economics had changed and the kind of opportunity for it. So yeah, I think for me on that stuff, it's always trying to make sure we're covering everywhere and focus more on, for us, it's high competition. There are a lot of agencies. We are, particularly at the moment, very much focused on niching down to make sure that we speak to the right people and really have those relationships built that way.
Yeah, it's the like I said, there is a lot of agencies out there, so it's standing out, and that's why I think the way to go is, like you have been doing, like the Omni-Channel of people just need to know you first before you start reaching out, because once you're into that same pool as everybody else, that's when you're probably not going to win the new business like you probably could have done, like say in the COVID era or everything's just changing, and I think relationships is key to making any channel work, basically for the lead gen.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of I don't know anyone who's not now on that model, if that makes sense. I think that's always that's kind of now where a lot of people, I think, are really feeling they need to spend their time.
Cool. You have your own podcast, so if people want to listen and check out that, what sort of things do you cover on there, and where can they find it?
Yeah, so What It Takes, if you literally search What It Takes with Olly Fawcett, it will probably come up on YouTube, and you can also find it on all audio platforms, Instagram, etc. Just search it, you will find it, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, the idea behind the podcast is really trying to get under the skin of what it takes to achieve something. I think we're currently in a slight world where we're maybe all wanting things quicker, a bit easier, a bit simpler. And I think I'm a big believer of doing the work and putting in those sort of 10,000 hours that everyone always talks about. And I think that there are most industries, if not all industries, there are the people at the top of those have done that. And I really wanted to tell those stories. So started off speaking with a lot of brands and founders of great businesses. And now we've kind of like evolved that, and we venture into sports space, the restaurant world, the artist space. Like, we're really trying to just find those amazing stories, and yeah, we're doing really nice stuff, and we really like the content. It's super enjoyable. The conversations are amazing. We've got some fantastic guests and opportunities coming very soon. So yeah, really excited about it. But you can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And if somebody likes the sound of you and likes the sound of the business and wants to have a chat, where's best to go for that?
I would actually probably, I post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, so just finding me on LinkedIn. So Olly Fawcett, OLLYFAWCETT. On LinkedIn is probably where I post most of my stuff, and then, to be honest, the podcast is really where you'll hear a lot more from me.
Awesome. Olly, thanks for giving up your time and sharing some stuff with us, and yeah, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure, mate. Lovely to meet you, and thanks for having me on.